Y'all like to stand for the reading of the word? Hallelujah. Father, we come together today. Jesus, bless us in the reading of the word, Father. That just anoint me, Father, that I can move out of the way and just let the Holy Spirit take over, Father. The word that you shared with me, Father, I can share with others and that they'll understand as you have given me understanding. We can open our eyes to see, our ears to hear, and speak, Father, that we can just share it with others as you show us what we need. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
I'm going to be reading out of Mathew 5:17 through 20. Yeah, fine. All right, we're going to start in verse 17. It says, "Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven." Amen. All right. Well, what I want to share today is kind of been on me for a while, and I really just didn't know how to bring it forward. And because we think of the law as condemnation, and we think of it as that it's just so hard to bear, which it was. That's why Christ came. But I don't want this message to come out as that it's that I'm, we're rebuked or whatever. So what I would like to talk about today is how we can benefit from the law and from religion, but also how the law and religion can hurt us. And so that's what I want to try to get across today. And this is Jesus speaking. I'm going to quote another scripture. It's John 3:17. It says, "For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved." And with that being said, it's like I said in Matthew, he tells us that he's fulfilled the law. But I want to kind of get a little bit about the law. It says here, law is a body of rules and standards written or understood. Rule that concerns behavior and their consequences. And a statement that is true under specific conditions. So let's look at those three things. Let's look at standard, behavior, and statement. So when we think of the law, that's basically what it is. God set forth the standard. We're supposed to take heed to the standard, and we're supposed to abide by it. So if we look at standard, a standard is a usable or serviceable grade or quality. So therefore, a standard is what we set as forth. Behavior is a human conduct relative to a social norm or a way we're supposed to act. And a statement is a declaration or a remark. So if we put those three together, in a sense, the positive aspect of it is the law is a usable grade of which we're supposed to act normal and declare the love of God. So therefore, we look at it as that. So we look at the law and we look at all the things, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not do this. And I always thought about, and I say this all the time, is there's a lot of laws that were set to protect us from people. There's some laws that were put into effect to protect us from ourselves. And those are the ones I really need. But I want to kind of touch base on that. Like I said, I don't want to get carried away with the law. But if we really look at it, when we think about it, we think before we act and we do things, then really the law was set for us originally for what God wanted us to live our lives. Then came the crazy part of it. It was added on, the law was added to Moses. Of course, we know Moses had the 10 Commandments, and the prophets came. By God's design, he added to the laws. We can read all the way through Leviticus, Deuteronomy, there was bunches of them. Then we get into the high priests and the Pharisees and the scribes, and they started adding laws, and then laws, and everybody changed. And so those were so unbearable that Christ came and just gave us grace. And so we go into that aspect of it, and we look at Like John 1:17, it says, "For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ." So that takes me to religion. And religion is the belief in a worship of a supernatural controlling power, a particular system of faith and worship. Someone is seriously devoted. So let's look at those three. Let's look at belief, system, and devotion. Belief is a mental acceptance of something. System is a collection or of an organization or a thing. And devoted is to vow to or dedicate. So basically, we should have a mental acceptance of these collected organizations and be dedicated to it, which is really what religion is. But what I want to do is I want to kind of take a different aspect on all this stuff. We all know sin is sin, and most of the time, if we really search our hearts, we know what sin is. We can come up with every excuse in the whole wide world of doing something, but we basically know that if you steal something, it's wrong. If you lie, it's wrong. You beat somebody up, it's pretty much wrong. So I'm not going to get into that aspect. What I want to get into is how we take the law, just like the scribes and Pharisees do. We take the law and we use it for our personal gain. We take religion and we use it for our personal gain. And the Lord was really dealing with me on this, and like I said, I really had a hard time and had a lot of prayer how I'm going to bring this forward the way that I really see it. And I know we hear all the ministers and great ministers preaching of the end times and how corruption, but if we really look back, if we look at the way Corinthians was in Rome, they were pretty screwed up too. And I'm not saying justifying our lives as we live, but what we get into a habit of doing is just like they did with the law. We just keep adding to it. And then sometimes we take away from it so we can live what we want to do, what we think is right. Anytime you add emotions to something, it's pretty much, I can guarantee it's going to be messed up. And I want to turn to Matthew 11:18 and 19, and this is Jesus speaking. He says, "For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he hath a devil," which he's speaking of John the Baptist. And then it says in verse 19, it says, "The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, Behold, a man gluttonous, and a winebibber, a friend of the publicans and the sinners. But the wisdom is justified of our children." And when I read that, I got to thinking, we are so like that. Someone comes and he's like, well, he's a nutcase because he's out there in the wilderness and he's baptizing people, telling them to repent. And then on the other hand, we're just like that. Well, look at him. He drinks, he's wine bitter, he eats with the sinners, and he's just like them. So we don't know what we want. So we get so mixed up in what we think religion is and what law is and what this is, and laws change and change. And so what I was thinking and what the Lord really was dealing with me on was we have to stop looking and trying to find something wrong. Or we're supposed to, and I shared this with Bishop one time. I heard this guy talking on the radio one time. He was talking about when he was in seminary school, and they used to sneak out of the dorm and go downtown and have the parties and hang out at the bars and all the good stuff. And one day the other guy asked him, he says, "What are y'all doing that for? You know that's not right." And he goes, "Well, how are we going to know what to preach against? We have to know what's out there to preach against it." And it just hit my heart. I was like, well, no, we're not supposed to be preaching against anything. We're supposed to be preaching for something. What are we going to show them that is different than what they had? And I think that as a religion and as a law and as the Christians, we get so wrapped up in what are we going to preach against versus what are we going to preach for? What are we going to show people that is different between me, the guy I am today, than the guy I was a year ago? That's preaching difference. That's preaching what God wanted us to do. That, I believe, is fulfilling the law. And get on the soapbox there. But anyway, so, like I said, I think we use the law, we use religions. A lot of times we get wrapped up and we use it for selfish reasons. Some people get wrapped up in it, use it for financial gain. Some use it for personal egos. We get wrapped up in it. And also we get, on the other aspect of it, is we let the law and religion condemn us. And this is the other side that I want us to see today, is that sometimes we're our own worst enemies. We let the law dictate the way we are versus grace. And then sometimes we let grace dictate who we are, so we just go do something when we think, oh, it's okay, God's going to forgive me. So we kind of got to, it's that gray line, we got to kind of balance it out, and we got to learn how to balance it out. And anyway, it just goes on and on, and God was just showing me all this stuff, all kinds of things. I was kind of getting nutty, but it was just everything. You know, we get into the concept of sexual immorality, and we're like, well, look at them people. And then, but instead of saying, yes, it's wrong, but how can we show them a different way? Or drinking, or drug abuse, or what's different? What are we going to show? Why we preach against it versus showing what's better? There's a better life. There's a better way. This is why you don't do it. This is what, just like underage drinking, for example. Why don't we show the children why underage drinking is so wrong? What does it do to their body? Then also, it's an honorable thing to wait. If we teach them that, hey, if you endure it and you wait till you're 21, then it's much more pleasurable. You might not even want to do it at 21. So we understand the law and we use it. But anyway, like I said, I'm kind of getting off. But I want to tell the story before I get on this. And I got so quick, I heard it years ago, long time ago. And it's a story of a father. And he's kneeling by his bed, and his son walks by, and he's praying. And his son looks into the room, and he sees that they had the family dog tied up to the bedpost. And the dad's praying. The son shakes his head, kind of walks off. And so when the dad gets finished praying, the son goes up to the dad, and he says, hey, Father, he goes, Dad, what's the deal with tying up the dog to the bedpost when you pray? He sits there for a second. He goes, I don't know. He says, my grandpa did. Your grandpa did that. My dad did. He goes, well, why did he do it? He was like, well, I don't know. Let's go ask him. So they loaded up the car and went over to Grandpa's dad's house and asked Grandpa, why when you prayed did you tie up the dog? I don't know. My dad did it. So they went over to Great-Grandpa's house and asked Great-Grandpa. So they're all in there talking, trying to figure out why Great-Grandpa tied up the dog. And he said, well, every time I got to pray, everything wouldn't leave me alone. I had to tie him up so I could pray. So that's religion. That's what we do. We start off with one little thing, and then the next thing we think we have to do. And then the things that we should do, we forget to do. Because we get so wrapped into what we think we have to do. And I'm going to, like I say, I'm not going to keep you long. I'm going to quote something. Billy Graham, he's one of my favorite ministers in the whole world. And he has a couple quotes here. It says, religion can be anything. But true Christianity is God coming to man in a personal relationship. Man suppresses the truth, and mixes it with error and develops the religions of the world. And that is so true. We get so wrapped up in denominations, and we get wrapped up in what we're supposed to do and what we should do and what we can't do and what we do. All this stuff, and I'm not saying anything wrong. We do need order. We do need laws. We need laws to protect ourselves. I mean, really, if the law drunk and driving, DWIs, if they wouldn't got so strenuous, probably would have had much more than we do now. But we do need things to protect ourselves from ourselves. And that's what the Word does, and that's what God does with the Word. And if we can ever get it in our hearts and in our minds, and God's working on me with this so much, but if we could ever learn that we cannot change the Word to suit us, but if we could change ourselves to suit the Word, if we could ever get that in our hearts to where we can show people, but not what we're going to preach against, but what we're preaching for. What are we showing them? And like I say, I'm not going to keep you much longer. I'm going to close with James 1:26 and 27. In James 1:26, it says, if any man among you seem to be righteous, I already said that. Let me get my glasses on. I can't see that last one. I'm sorry. If any man among you seem to be religious, and bridleth not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion is in vain. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their afflictions, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. Now out of this, I want to get to the one part where it says, but it deceiveth his own heart. And I think, like I said, that's what I really believe God is trying to get to me, and I want to share with you is that, like I said, if we can ever get in our heart to change for the Word instead of trying to change the Word for our own benefit. And we do it in so many different ways, and I'm not talking just major sins or immortality. I'm talking the little things in our lives of setting aside prayer time, to fasting, to worship, to anything that we can do. If we can ever get out of our heart of what we're trying to benefit from God. And I heard a guy say the other day, and it really hit me home. I mean, it like a knife sticking in my heart. He says that we tend to think God is our butler when we ring our little bell and we want God to come to us. And that is so true. And God struck me, and it's like, see, I'm not your butler. I'm not your maid. I'm not your bellboy. I'm going to help you. But I don't just sit there and ring the bell and tell me to come bring you food. And that, I think, is where we get to the point of where we want the Word to suit us versus we want to suit the Word. And I'm going to close with that. And if anybody has any prayer, come forward. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't rush through it. But just let's remember that we got to preach